First, I give the floor to the EPP in the person of Constance LE GRIP. 2 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, President. It is 2015. Since November 2013, which is when the Regner report was adopted in plenary, calling on the Commission to ensure greater gender balance in major European companies on their boards. Since then, we've seen little progress when it comes to women on company boards. We adopted our position. Very little headway was made in Council thereafter. We were disappointed, or rather, we were pleased when the Italian presidency worked on this issue at the Competitiveness Council on the 11th of December. Now, the European Parliament has been extremely pragmatic. It has looked at quantifiable targets without binding measures, but ensuring more transparent, fairer selection procedures. The aim was to ensure consensus between the different groups. We ensured a balance in this way in the European Parliament. The aim is to increase the presence of women on the boards of various European companies and also respect culture, legal tradition in member states and indeed the legal framework in member states. The aim of the text is fairly modest. The scope is restricted to quoted companies, but of course the initiative is highly symbolic. It would make it possible to shine a light for future generations, ensure that more female leaders break through the glass ceiling. When legislative measures are taken in the member states, including my own, that is when we start achieving results. Now we need to galvanize the goodwill, the feminine will shown by the minister, the commissioner, and do our utmost to strike a compromise. The European Parliament is certainly willing to work constructively on an equal footing with Council. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much. Madame LE GRIP, I was actually scared to interrupt you in this debate, I must admit, but please stick to your time and I will give the floor to the Socialists and Democrats in the person of Ms.
Thank you very much. Many people claim that quotas don't...
Man tvingar företag att anställa kompetenta personer. Dock ska 40% av dem vara kvinnor. Och brist på kompetenta kvinnor är det inte. Det handlar också om att ändra perspektiv. Antingen anser vi att kvinnorna inte räcker till, att de inte har den kunskap och den erfarenhet som krävs, vilket inte stämmer. Eller så vänder vi på det och fokuserar på företagen och strukturerna där. Varför lyckas de inte anställa kvinnor? Det har nu gått över ett år sedan Europaparlamentet med en överväldigande majoritet röstade igenom EU-kommissionen.
Voted through the Commission's proposal. Since then, a minority of member states have blocked the proposal in Council and have forced a compromise. And that minority doesn't now seem to want to accept that either. These countries say that the member states themselves have to bring in legislation on quotas, that it shouldn't be at an EU level. That's rubbish, I say. Very little has happened in the member states during these years of blockage, and that means that we are sending a clear signal to women in Europe that we're thinking of doing very little to bring about equality, and that in any case you're not going to break through the glass ceiling and they're not going to get the top job simply because they're women. I feel that this is an embarrassment given the Council's action. I know that a lot of other women feel that to be a problem as well. And the Italian presidency's compromise not to make the 40% target binding is to perpetuate the structures we have and actively work against a more equal Europe. Quotas for company boards should be a universal solution for to think that is a universal solution would be an illusion, but it does send out a clear signal that equality is of essential importance for the EU and our future. Thank you.
Tak. Dziękuję bardzo pani poseł.
Thank you very much indeed. Our debate is delayed, therefore I request all speakers, both men and women, to keep up to their timing. And now, for the ECR, the floor goes to Jana ŽITњANSKÁ for 1 minute.
Thank you. A natural desire of every human being is to fulfill its full potential. As a mother of 3 children, being in politics for some years now, I'm convinced that regardless of whether a woman wants to live only devoted to her family or whether she wants to combine her professional and family life, it's our obligation to enable her to do that. And no proposal establishing quota will not create these conditions, which can be presented on the example of Norway, where in 2006 quotas were introduced, but did not bring about the wished results. Not only women on company boards, but also the whole participation in the labour market is crucial, as well as sufficient places in childcare facilities. For instance, parental leave. In the European Commission, it's possible to take in a flexible manner this parental leave up to the 20 years of age of a child. I've been trying to pursue this route also in the Slovak Parliament. I believe that these various methods could enable women to fulfill their full potential and not to face a dilemma how to combine a career and a family life.
Dziękuję bardzo pani poseł. A teraz w imieniu
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Mrs. Mlinar on behalf of the ALDE.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Commissioner, Madam Kalniņa-Lukaševica. Gender equality is one of the core objectives of the European Union, and the right to work is an essential precondition if women are to enjoy effective equal rights. Figures clearly show that discrimination against women is still a serious problem. The unemployment rate is higher for women than for men. The gender pay gap involves nearly every occupational sector, and moreover, while more education is an effective tool for increasing earnings, it is not an effective tool to fight the gender pay gap. Sadly, many people out there still argue that women themselves are the problem. Needless to say that this is certainly complete nonsense. It is a shame, and for me unbelievable, that we all, and also parents, in fact still accept that the opportunities for young boys are still better than those offered to young girls. Discrimination and unacceptable inequality has to be eliminated, no matter the means and the rules we have to apply. Thank you.
Danke sehr. A teraz w imieniu Konfederacyjnej Grupy.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the United Left, Nordic Green Left, and Mrs. Zuber.
É evidente que a ressonância mediática desta medida.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's clear that this will have a tremendous resonance, and that's why so many people are down to speak on this. Clearly there are many problems of inequality between men and women, and the examples in the real world are really shocking. There are more and more women in Europe who are unemployed, who are living in poverty, who have to work part-time, and time which is no longer available to look after their families. And women are also subject to domestic violence. Now, when it's necessary, as a result, to use family planning, when you have to bring up children alone, at a time when frontline services and child allowances and things such as that are being cut. This is the real world we now live in.
Now for the Greens, the floor will go to Terry Reintke.
Dear Mr. President, dear colleagues, only 18.6% of board members in Europe are women. Among the top executive positions, it's only 3.3%. 3.3%. That is the way that we have come 222 years after Olympe de Gouges died under the guillotine and 66 years after Simone de Beauvoir published her famous book, Le Deuxième Sexe. Really? This is not only a minor problem of justice in the European Union. It is a frustrating scandal. A scandal that we could change. We could change it if only we could bring the process of really making the European Union a champion for women's rights again to bring it to a successful end. The introduction of a binding quota was started by courageous women. It was watered down, it was debated, praised and condemned. We as women and also men in this Parliament need to stand up for it now. We need to make very clear. We will fight for an ambitious, binding, European-wide quota for women in executive boardrooms. And we will not give up until women get what they deserve. Half of the power in boardrooms, in politics and in our societies. Thank you.
Danke sehr, Abgeordnete. A teraz poproszę panią poseł Marię.
Now the floor goes to Mrs. Gabriel.
Thank you, President, Commissioner, Secretary of State. Since the draft directive was proposed, legislative pressure has been building up, and companies are finding competent, qualified, able women, and that's why we've seen an improvement in the situation by 18.6%. And yet, despite the burden of proof, we are marking time. The Parliament has proposed the basis for negotiation, and 2 presidencies later, the Council has still not been able to find agreement. It's now urgent for Member States to advance on this dossier with 3 main arguments. Yes, Madam Commissioner, women are 60% of the people with degrees, and their involvement on the labour force doesn't reflect that. The 2020 objectives are not going to work unless we break through the glass ceiling. And let's not think this is a burden for employers. Let's make better use of the available talent so that industry can remain competitive. Secondly, some people are allergic to quotas. This Parliament has given a pragmatic response. Quotas are not an end in themselves. They are an instrument to help the putting in place recruitment procedures which are transparent and non-discriminatory. Thirdly, we must give the industry a boost of a new lease of life, and because starting at the top will cause a snowballing effect and avoid a segmentation of the labour market. All of us wish and will better, more fairness between men and women. It's high time that this led to concrete action. Our margins for manoeuvre are limited, but where we can do something, it's politically irresponsible vis-à-vis citizens not to seize those opportunities. Thank you.
A teraz poproszę panią poseł Viliją Blinkevičiūtę.
Thank you, Madam Blinkevičiūtė is next for 1 minute.
Pone komisarė, pone ministrė, mes Europos parlamente jau 2013 metais priėmėme.
Back in 2013, the European Parliament adopted its position on the directive and set a good example for establishing equality in other areas. But we're still not inclined to give educated women the possibility of exploiting their full potential and to help fight economic stagnation in Europe. We need to make a decision to ensure that women can take top jobs in companies. In the European Union, only 18% of women are on management boards of companies, and we need a common directive, and we need quotas for women, at least 40%. Now that's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just looking across to the Latvian presidency here, and I do hope that you will take a responsible approach to this and produce a good result.